Welcome back to the Etown Everywhere podcast. This is episode 33. I'm your host Luke, and this week I'd like to talk about Poland, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia. Alright, so to start out, this week I have 3 articles I wanted to talk about that caught my attention. I found these on CNN, all 3 of these articles, and the first one is about the Polish president wanting to sign a controversial new Holocaust bill. This law would make it illegal to accuse the nation of being complicit during the Holocaust. The law would also ban the use of terms such as Polish death camps in relation to Auschwitz and other camps located in Nazi-occupied Poland. So this really shows how Poland wants to remove themselves from being associated with the Holocaust. But as a lot of concern is being raised in the article, and there's a video that goes along with it that has some Holocaust survivors raising their concerns, saying about, we need to remember this history, especially so it doesn't get repeated. And I think that's oh so often true that, in U.S. history or any country's history, we have parts of it that we're not very proud of. And I think it's important to, rather than saying, let's forget that ever happened, I think it's important, maybe not so much to dwell on it, but to acknowledge that it happened and acknowledge the fact that, we need to make it better, or we need to never do that again. So I think that's very important to keep in mind here. It says here, at least 3 million Polish Jews and 1.9 million non-Jew citizens were killed during the Holocaust, just there in Poland itself, not counting the other countries. So I think it's very important that this bill that makes it illegal to accuse the nation of being complicit does not pass, and terms such as Polish death camps can be used. As far as I can read in this article, the law has already passed, which is unfortunate, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay that way. Hopefully not. But like I was saying earlier, in U.S. history, which I'm a little bit more familiar with, there's a lot of bad things that we've done, and I don't think we should brush that under the rug. I think it's important to teach about that in schools and let younger generations know, we made mistakes, and we aren't the best country in the world for a lot of things. And acknowledging that, showing that we made mistakes, I think, there's something very powerful with that in any aspect, whether it's on an individual level or a nation. But this bill is really concerning because of the atrocity associated with it. So that's my first article. The second article I have is a little bit lighter note, and it is about the Winter Olympics here in South Korea, and Kim Jong-un is sending his younger sister to South Korea for the Winter Olympics. So this is the first time any member of the Kim dynasty has visited the country. So that's really exciting. So South Korea's Unification Ministry said that Kim Yo-jong, who is Kim Jong-un's younger sister, will be joining the delegation to the South. So she is 30 years old, and she's kind of risen in fame since 2014, and Kim Yo-jong's inclusion in the North Korea delegation, this article mentions, is likely to irritate the United States, which has sent its own delegation, led by Vice President Mike Pence, to counter North Korea's charm offensive. So I think it's great that this seems to be a nice step in the right direction, since North and South Korea are still warring with each other, but it certainly does not mean that everything is rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. But I think it's a step in the right direction to have somebody from the Kim dynasty visiting South Korea, especially during the time of the Olympics, whenever it's like we as a world come together and try to put our differences aside and sort of embrace our commonalities. So I think that was nice, but like I say, it's certainly not the be-all end-all of the misunderstandings and war between the two countries. So then, on a later note, hopefully, here, in Saudi Arabia, Saudi women are slowly joining the workforce as the country reforms. So there is this 30-year-old woman who they talk about in the article who has a master's degree in food safety management, and she is the manager of a Starbucks branch in Saudi Arabia. And they're really challenging the gender roles. And it says here, for years, labor laws in Saudi Arabia prevented gender mixing in the workplace. But this woman's team is trying to sort of change that and serving clientele of both men and women. And it says here that there has been sort of an implicit and unofficial acceptance of gender mixing in the work environment as of late, which is good. The article mentions how in 2011 a law was passed that all shops selling women's related products such as lingerie should only have female sales representatives, which makes sense. And then it says, like in 2016, drugstores and optic shops could request permits to hire Saudi women so long as the female staff remains separate from male workers and customers. And then there's also this Saudi Vision 2030 strategy set by the Saudi Crown Prince that aims to increase female participation in the workforce from 22% now to 30% in all sectors in 2030. 30% is making progress from 22%, but I mean by 2030, that's over 10 years away. So I feel like there could be a higher percentage than 30%. But also, the article mentions how unemployment rate is currently at 12.8%, according to official government figures, and there's a goal by 2030 of lowering the jobless rate to 7%. So that's almost cutting that in half over the next 10 years. So hopefully there is more gender integration and people are more comfortable with that idea, because I think it's very different in Saudi Arabia. The article mentions how the demand for female employees remains much lower than for males. But I think a lot of that would be because of sort of the culture that has been created. Sort of, it's created less jobs for women. So with sort of gradual changes, they may be seeing a change with that and more demand for female workers and more equality in the workforce, rather than just needing women for certain jobs and just wanting men for other jobs. Alright, so that's enough about that serious stuff. It's on to our later part of the podcast, the joke of the week. Question: can a kangaroo jump higher than the Empire State Building? Answer: of course, the Empire State Building can't jump. That was hilarious. I can't wait until next week to get another laugh in. Thank you for listening to Etown Everywhere, a podcast featuring fun facts and friends from around the world. This show is brought to you by Elizabethtown College's Office of International Student Services. If you would like additional information about this week's podcast, please contact the Office of International Student Services at oiss@etown.edu or at 717-361-1594. I'm your host, Luke Mackey, and remember, never stop exploring the world around you. See you next time.